Welcome to Chef Factory's Quick Start video tutorial series. On this video, we're going to be talking about basic filtering for our select queries. This video builds upon previous videos. So if you haven't watched the previous videos, I suggest you stop this video and do so now. As you can see, we have the same solution that we have been working on for a couple of videos. And I have added the orders controller to the controllers folder. And I have also added a view under the orders folder in the views folder to basically show a list of orders. Now let's look at how our application looks at this moment. I've also added an extra link to our main page so that we can navigate to the orders section. As you can see, the order section is now empty because we haven't set up our data access yet, or we haven't written our queries that is going to populate the screen. We also added 3 links in here: the all, not picked up, and back orders, which represent different groupings of orders. So now let's look at our controller. If we go to the orders controller, I have already set up an action that, based on an integer parameter, calls different methods so that it can populate the view with different orders. Let's take a look first at the get all orders method. Let's uncomment the code. The first thing is I'm going to add the using statements necessary to be able to consume this code. Let me minimize this to make this cleaner. I'm going to remove this line of code because it's no longer necessary. So in order to create a query to apply filtering to our data access or data retrieval, we have to create a new query object. The query class is generated by the Chef Factory code generator, and every entity also gets an enumeration that contains all the properties for that entity. In this case, the order property contains the properties for the order entity. So we create a new query of order property because that's what we're going to use to filter. And we're going to say where the order date is greater than or equals date time now minus 7 days, which means get me all the orders for the past 7 days. Now notice that I prefixed the condition with the word date. If I were to remove it, it would compare also the time portion, which is the hours, the minutes, the seconds, and the milliseconds. In this case, we're not interested in that comparison. We just want to compare the date portion of the date time. Once we're done with our query, we can pass it in to our toList method in our repository to be able to get a filtered result. Now let's look at the effect of this on the screen. So we fire our application again. We're going to click on the orders, and now we get a list of orders for the past 7 days. We have found 314 orders for this category. Obviously, the other links still not work because we haven't written our queries yet. So let's close this and let's stop debugging. Now let's set up the not picked up orders. So we're just going to uncomment. We're going to remove this last line of code, it's no longer needed. We start out with a very similar query than the one we just used before, getting the orders for the past 7 days. And we also added some conditions to it. So we say where the order date is greater than 7 days ago, and the picking completed when property is null, and the back order ID is also null, because we don't want to get back orders mixed up with the not picked up orders. So we're basically saying give me all the orders for the past 7 days where the picking completed date is null and the back order ID is also null. And then we use the same pattern. We pass it in as a parameter to our list, to our toList method from our order repository. So let's look at this. Let's run the application. Let's click on orders. We should see a list of orders for the past 7 days. And then when we click on not picked up, we get that we have found 20 orders that have not been picked up by anyone yet. So now let's look at the get back orders method. This method, we start with a very similar query than the other two, but in this case, the condition is that the back order ID is not equals null. Now notice that when I don't specify a filter condition, it defaults to equals. And if I do specify it, it basically will evaluate to whatever I have specified. Now, if I fire up my IntelliSense, you're going to notice there is quite a few different possible conditions that you can apply to your query. So I suggest you experiment with the different filter conditions so you can achieve your desired results. Also, it's worth noting that I'm only using AND operators in here, but I could also be using OR. So I could say something like OR order property comments filter conditions contains the word not picked up. Of course, this query in this particular scenario might not make sense. I don't know if there is any records that have this word in it, but basically you can also use the OR operator. And that's it. That's how simple it is to write some queries and apply some filtering to these queries using the Sharp Factory framework. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channel.